developers, Spanish developers, of course. So I'm going to introduce them all before starting the topic and explain you all what this is all about. We are with Enrique Colinet from the Game Kitchen. He's the lead level designer, right? And also we are with Jorge Gutiérrez from Raccoon Game Studios.
Yeah.
And Ball of Tentacles, right?
Yeah. We're gonna choose the name.
And last but not least, we are with David Carrasco from Vermila. I'm sorry, Vermila Studios, developers of the upcoming game Crisol.
Thank you so much. Very, very happy to be here.
Also, I didn't mention that Raccoon's game is Reminiscent.
Yeah.
And I can't remember now, like the subtitle is
Wings of Sorrow.
Wings of Sorrow. I didn't remember how to run microphone. This is so fun. And of course, they are the Game Kitchen developers of Blasphemous 1, 2, and
now
The Stone of Madness. Tell us about it. You announced it yesterday at night. You announced it yesterday at night during the.
Yeah, we announced it at the Future Game Show yesterday night, and the response has been overwhelming. That's been really cool because we have been waiting for this moment for a long time.
It looked very amazing, to be honest, and it's a great like change of genre and aesthetic. I mean, it reminded me a bit of like this book, Name of the Rose.
Yeah, the Bay of Pride, right?
Yeah.
Spanish video games, yeah. Yeah, I got influences from there. I'm from games like Narcosandio, Commandos. If we talk about Spanish influences, yes.
So you know, people whistles now and play when it's out. And save for the rest of the games to mention, they are amazing and they need your support. So just check their Twitter accounts, follow them and follow their projects because they are amazing. So let's start with the topic of the day. We're going to talk about making a full game marketable, which means that how to reach players who like this kind of games. They are a bit of niche, I think. I don't know many players that like so intensely folk games because you focus a lot on Spanish folklore, which is very very concrete. And how did you decide to approach the Spanish culture in that way? That's my question.
Well, in our case, it came kind of naturally. You grow up with that culture surrounding you, all that folklore, all the religion, every single aspect of your life is connected to all the history and all the society that has been evolving throughout the years, right? So creating a game that is influenced by that is basically like the most natural thing. If you want to create something that is from the US or from Germany or from someplace else where you haven't lived, you really need to dig deep to get that information. And in the end, you are not going to make it exactly like it is. You are just going to give it your own spin. In this case, it's clearly what you've lived, what you know, and how you have behaved all your life, right? So it is very, very easy for you to actually approach game development and creating a new project with those kinds of influences.
It's funny because, go ahead. It's funny because you have to see this whole thing from a new perspective because we are so used to plays like fantasy worlds or magical worlds or wars or invasions. In the United States, for example, it's like, yeah, that's the place where everything happens. And it's so hard to move that concept to Spain because we're used to that, science fiction doesn't happen here usually. So at some point we asked to ourselves the question, why not? Yeah, we can have an invasion here, we can have, alien invasion, or we can have some magical happening here. But there is a process to get there and see the advantages of taking our country and our culture, our things, and start thinking like, okay, but what if that happens to us? Like it's what you mentioned. It should be easy to just imagine how it will happen. It's just that we are so influenced and it's a bad word, but corrupted by our vision of how science fiction or games should be if they are set in a specific location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For us, it was like naturally. Do you want me to pass the mic? All right. For us, it was naturally because the story came to us. Actually, it's something that is going on in Valencia. So it's like we have a building in Valencia that paranormal events are happening. So it was naturally. We love Valencia as well. But I agree with David and Enrique that when you know something, it's easier to create it correctly, to create more appeal to the players. And if the narrative is correct, you just use the environment of your city, your country, or your region to make it more appealing to the players and more welcoming, you know?
Yeah. It's also very interesting because Enrique said that sometimes you always see United States or everywhere, right? And it's really hard to think about how am I gonna make my culture interesting to others when they are basically interested in a specific culture, right? So it takes a while to actually decide, hey, well, there's a lot of people coming here to know about my culture. There's a lot of interest worldwide already, and it's unique, different, special. So if you take the right aspects and you showcase them the right way, I think it's very easy to actually take your culture and make it palatable and interesting and understandable for those foreign people that are not so used to Spanish culture, Spanish heritage.
Yeah, and in Spain we have the advantage with that we are like worldwide known as a tourism place. So we attract that already. We have that traction already. So we can use that traction to put it into the games and say,
absolutely.
This is Valencia, this is Madrid, Toledo, Sevilla, you know, whatever the place it is.
Come visit us because it's...
Yeah. So we have already a lot of visitors, and it's like another way to visit that place from another angle, like science fiction or true story or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting because, as you said before, it's like we have this sense of wonder with another countries, like for example Japan or the United States, just because of video games, because of cinema, of books, and it's time to start appreciating more our good culture. So I have like a critical question, let's say. How important is for you to accurately represent elements of your culture, like the history and things like that, like to represent reality over fiction?
That's it. Well, in our case, we take a very fictional approach to Spain and Hispanic heritage. But at the same time, we don't want to be unfaithful, or we don't want to spin things out of context too much, so it doesn't remind you of the source material, right? So what we decided was to try to get as many aspects for your own influence and understand what they mean and what they actually have in their roots, and then we will try to showcase them in our own way with our own story. Our world is fully fictional. They have like a storyline that is completely made up, and we are not actually in Spain, so there's that twist there. But you need to be connected to Spain somehow. It's like in BioShock with their own take on the United States, on America, right? You spin it enough that it preserves the source, but like the root, but it doesn't make you like lose all context of where you are.
Yeah, I don't think it's about being like. Should I take this? Yeah. Okay. So I don't think it's about being super respectful with reality. It's more about how to say it? It's sparking the curiosity on the players that are going to be invested on the world that you created. So if you create a universe with some characters that are based on specific elements of your culture, people will start wondering, why is this character like this? Why are they talking like that? Why they live like that? And that will drive them, if they are really curious about that, that will drive them to learn more about that specific thing. That obviously that happens to us with Blasphemous. Seville is not like Custodia. It's not like it's represented in Blasphemous, but there are many elements in there that spark curiosity for the players. Like, okay, why they're having this pointy hat? Like, why all the characters have these pointy hats, and why this character is selling this stuff, and why this town look like this, or why this boss says these things or behave like that, and that moved this community to learn more about specific aspects of our culture. Like, probably we sparked curiosity on flamenco music in the last 5 years, especially on the gaming community, which is not so used to listen to flamenco unless it's a Japanese game for some reason. But yeah, I think that's the real value of putting your whole self, your part of your life and your country on a game. It's not about being super faithful and respectful about your country. It's just putting something that players are not used to see on games, because they are, as I mentioned before, they're used to things in the United States, or the Victorian era, or the Nordics, or the Japanese, or the Chinese now. So it's good to see that there are more and more developers trying to sell how cool a game based on the Spanish culture can be outside of our borders.
Yeah, for us, about the accuracy, because it's based on a true story and true events, we wanted to preserve, for example, the place that things are happening. It has a really Valencian architecture, so we want to prevent that to the game and transform that feeling for the player to have. Because for us, that was really important. It's the same as the paintings in the walls, or the paintings and in the frescoes as well, or the tales. All that, it's dripping Valencian culture. And for us, it was really important because, like I said, because it's based on a true story and true events, we wanted to the player to have the feeling that is in there with the protagonist.
Okay. I was about to ask you what elements of folklore work the best, but I think you resumed it very well with the music, the architecture. So it's like it tries to make people come here, visit us, and get curious about the old culture. So I think the most interesting question now is, what kind of game genres work the best with these games? Like at platformers, open world adventures, what kind of stuff work best?
This is I would say a connecting
personal,
line.
right?
Horror is a very visceral emotion, right? It comes from deep in your heart. It's one of the things you feel first, right? Love, all of that happens later. Horror, terror is something that you feel from the very moment that you come in the world, right? It's like, what's going on? I'm trying to breathe. There's light everywhere. I was so happy inside my mom, right? So horror is an emotion that is ingrained inside us. So it's very easy to convey a story using horror as a connecting, an emotional element. But I will also say, if you want to bring other paramounts of entertainment, what you really want to do is make it fun, make it enjoyable, make it something that you will enjoy to play, you will enjoy to do for a while. So it doesn't matter if it's a platformer, a roguelike, survival horror, VR experience. Make something that will be enjoyable, interesting, fun, and memorable. So that will be in your mind for a while.
it was funny because when you mention automatically horror games, I don't know what it is about Spanish aesthetics that works so well in horror, because we saw this first on movies, like for example Rec or Pan's Labyrinth. There's something scary about Spain, and I don't know what it is. What is it?
Maybe is it about religion?
Actually, yes. Being so tied to religion. I mean, we both, three of us, we cannot deny that. I mean, you cannot deny that. I don't know if you can deny that.
No.
But our games, they are so closely like related to religion that that's a good point actually. Yes. So yeah, horror games is the right answer, I guess.
For example, the house where the things happen in Reminiscent, they are full of frescoes with saints from Valencia. So you know that when you're with the lights out in that house and you go with the flashlight and you point to the frescoes, it's like they're like kind of creepy sometimes when you see them. So yeah.
And I just realized that I'm promoting a game based on a monastery. So yes,
True. I was gonna say, if you go into a Spanish church, Spanish cathedral, winter night, maybe 1 a.m., no lights, I'm sure you will feel some horror looking at some of the statues, some of the frescoes, some of the stained glass. So I think we've felt that throughout our education, visiting different places, different cities, different art, and I think it's very natural, very human for us to convey that in our games, in our expressions.
So, having all this in mind, what kind of players are more likely to play your games? What do you think?
You talking about the target, like the age range, or
Something more general, like what personality, what tastes has this kind of target player you have? I think it's different for all of you, but
yeah, for us it will be 100% horror players that enjoys a narrative style game and puzzles as well. We think the target will be from 18 to 40, to be honest, because it's a wide range that players that play horror games. But that depends on the genre of the game. I think we each have our own. So
No, I think definitely some people in our case will play because of the horror. Some others will play because of the more action aspect of the game. In the end, I guess most of us will like to reach a broad audience. The broader, the better, because more people will play it, more people will enjoy it, more people will tell their friends about it. And so, yeah, of course, you focus on certain things, but in the end, if you reach more people, your game will be more successful usually.
is it too late to turn your game into Peggy 3?
It may be slightly too late. We can try. We can try.
Yeah, you can change all your statues and saints by plushy toys and
Yeah, we'll work in that Bluey partnership that we are always talking about.
you can always try like a free a mode free of violence and blood, like everything is super sweet with pastel colors and everything.
Do you mind repeating the question?
No, it's not. It wasn't a question. It was a joke. I mean, you can always plan a mode that is free of blood and darkness, and everything's clear and beautiful and
There
pastel
you go.
color.
Yeah. And most people love to play survival horror with bright colors and no blood.
Yeah. Well, bad things can also happen in the day. I mean, I remember this movie. How it was called. Nope. And the other one, like this one is Nordic. Yeah, you remember the name, right?
Midsummer.
Midsummer. It was Midsummer. So don't talk them quickly.
I see.
Yeah.
So I think we can move to talk more about the business. What kind of publishers fit your game better? I mean, they ask for specific requirements. There are specific publishers that you know that work with your kind of games. How does it work?
It's a hard question because it depends on the publisher agenda. So if they have horror games covered, maybe they will look away. They will not look to Spain. But I don't know. It's just, in my experience, it usually happens more naturally when you have something that is really interesting to the public, and publishers notice that, like, hey, there is a lot of response about this specific game. Maybe we should contact them because we need a game of this type in our, next year or whatever. But of course, there are publishers that are more invested on certain ideas, like that Devolver Digital will be more interested on your crazy ideas, while other publishers will be more interested on strategy games or action games or driving games or simulators, for example. But it's not about. It's about that. Yeah, actually. So there are certain publishers that that they are more tend to be interested on your game, depending on the genre. I don't know if you think differently or.
Yeah, no. In our case, what we do is we try to do like a broad approach where we try to contact like most of the top publishers. But for us, it's more important to contact someone that knows horror, has a horror audience already, like Feardemic, for example, or Dread XP, Critical Reflex, Blumhouse now, than going to the broad audience, because even if they have like a small community, it's going to be more passionate about the game than maybe if you go to one of the big ones. So we are thinking on going to these publishers before than going to, I don't know. I don't want to say names, I don't want to make enemies, but you know what I mean. So yeah, we are focusing on horror publishers, see what's going on, like we're trying.
I would say we've been extremely fortunate and lucky to find a publisher like Blumhouse Games. They are focused on horror, and they understand the kind of game we are making. We were approached by more generalistic kind of publishers. Some of them understood the game better. Some of them understood it worse. But I will say when you are deciding on a publisher, the most important thing is see if you are going to be in a sea of other games and they will just assign a budget for your marketing and whatever, and you'll be in autopilot until release, or if they are going to care and they are going to take your game to their best success ability, right? So it may not mean choosing specifically for a genre. It may mean choosing for someone that gets it and that loves it and that wants to make the best of that game and the most successful operation.
So my next question is, when specifically for you and for you, Enrique, because you're still working in that search for a publisher, but you also can give your opinion, of course.
The grown-ups have to talk. They know. I don't know. Like
You can talk a bit.
not yet. I will.
Oh, so there's a good news. Wow. Well, when you work with these publishers, you know that as we talk, we can't separate religious beliefs from your other games. So in one of your discussions with these publishers, did they in some way try to prevent you from touching some delicate topic, so especially related to religion, something like that, because it's problematic? I remember from a conference you gave in the past that you said that it's not polemic until you like say it's so. But I don't know if you change your mind or.
Actually, certain controversies start when people start wondering if there is a controversy. That makes the the balloon grow and grow, but there was nothing behind it. There was nothing in the end. So I really hate when that happens because it's like how you call it? It's forgot the word. But yeah, sometimes that happens. Like people are expecting a controversy, but there was nothing to begin with. So when we approached religion, for example, with Blasphemous, we were the first ones trying to not to cross any line because we were not interested in that. That's not the kind of publicity stunt that we wanted to make for the game. We wanted the game to be known for other reasons, not because we wanted to create a controversy so everybody will talk about the game. Bad publicity, bad advertisement is good advertisement. No. We didn't want that. So first one to draw a line were us. Like, no, we're not interested on this conversation. We created our own lore based on our culture. And then from that point on, I think that from that point on, we didn't have any kind of debate about that. We were slightly scared because we live in a super religious city in Spain. But most of the conversations were like, started with awkward silences like, yeah, but I recognize that you're using that. Okay, fine. So it's like people confronted their own prejudices at first. Then they realized that it was not important, and they move on. So that happened with Blasphemous. Like, we released the game. We didn't have any debate about religious iconography using there. And it has been like almost 5 years since we released the game. No controversy, no debate. We tried to be really respectful, and we brought attention to our cultures, to our city, to our churches, to all of that. So in some way, they should be somehow grateful because we're actually promoting all of the stuff that appears in the game.
So in our case, we haven't released yet, so we don't know about the audience, the final audience view of what we are trying to convey with the game. We have made our own religion. It's based on a lot of different things, but of course many things that we've grown up with the Catholic religion and so many others, right? And it's undeniable when you see it. But I will say some of the publishers we spoke with in the past, they were more worried about other topics, let's say dark topics, that could be misunderstood in certain countries or societies, or even psychologically, that were not like accessible or that felt a little complex, and with other publishers, they were like, oh, we don't care if you speak about that or you do this in the game. It's all you. You just set the limit, right?
It's all on you. Yeah.
So for us, religion was not the most difficult topic.
I'm cool, man.
You're good?
Yeah.
Nothing to say?
No.
Nothing to declare? Okay.
I'm learning here.
Oh, that's nice. So, regarding what you said, is there any topic that is off limits for you, personally, or just because of sales?
Was the question included in the paper? I didn't get there. Actually, this is hard to answer because you can answer from your... I can answer as an individual or as a company. And of course, in a company, there are many different point of views about stuff. But, it's a safe space. We can talk there about certain things, and get together to reach an agreement on how are we going to approach these delicate subjects and how we're going to proceed if we see something and we want to include in our game something that is really hard to approach. You know, for example, in Stone of Madness, we're talking about it's a mental institution, and we had to be extra careful with how we treat, you know, these problems. But you know, it's the 18th century. People there in that fiction, I mean, in that period, were not really careful about, you know, how to approach certain delicate subjects. So if we represent that in a game, how we do it? Are we being so rude, or do we write our conversations in the game from a more modern perspective? So it's always interesting how we do these things, and yeah, you can be more historically accurate, or or no, or be nice. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's very similar in our case. We may have individual opinions on certain topics, certain ideas. We try to convey them in the best way possible, but at the same time, Tormentosa, it's a dark place. It's a place where it feels very. It doesn't feel like a place where you would like to live, right? So you may represent certain situations, certain topics, certain even mental problems. You don't know. Certain topics will be represented there in a different way because it is a dark place. It is not Spain, or is it not the actual world where we live in?
Spain,
It's a crazy place, right? So we need to take that into consideration and put yourself in the shoes of the inhabitants of that place. So when you are in other games and you see monsters and horrors and things like that, you are not like, oh, but that doesn't happen in real life. What are they trying to do? No, you are just like in that universe, in that culture, in that moment. So you always try to be careful and respectful, but at the same time, certain things will need to be expressed as what the society and the folklore of that place will do.
Yeah, about the limitations, I have a weird point of view, because I think if it doesn't matter what you talk about, if you're bringing something to the table that is positive, that have a good impact, and you're bringing like a new conversation about a specific topic, I think it could be important because you're bringing a new point of view or a different point of view. And I have this mindset that you can talk about almost everything if you have good intentions on heart. And to be honest, even if you do that, you're gonna have people that are happy about it, but you're always gonna have people that doesn't agree, and they're gonna try to make a controversy. So, but that is gonna happen either way. So it doesn't matter what you do. You're gonna have people against. You're gonna have people in favor. But my feeling and my opinion is that if you have good intentions, like properly good intentions, and you want to bring a conversation to the table that has a new point of view or different point of view, I think it's positive. You know, everything that makes you think differently, it's positive.
Yeah, I don't know too much about this, but I think it also depends on the way you execute the idea. But do you mean in some way that you don't mind to lose sales if you're going to generate that conversation, that interesting conversation?
I think if you put that point of view with a good narrative, a good story, good storytelling, and good gameplay, people will understand it, because you're not trying to hurt anyone. That's not the focus. The focus is bringing another point of view to the table. It's like the Last of Us did in Last of Us 2, you know? You have the story of Abby and Ellie. Everyone loves Ellie, But what happened about Abby?
Everyone hated Abby.
Yeah, but
first.
it's just another point of view, you know?
Yeah, because they needed to know
Yeah.
Abby better. Yeah. What do you think about this?
Team Abby. No, but what was the specific question? Because it was really hard to. I heard the Last of Us part, but
The thing was, we were discussing if, touching some certain delicate topics is possible if you doing from heart without trying to generate any controversy.
okay, then I listened. I just forgot briefly. But yeah, I mean, you're totally right. If you bring something good to the table, and you stick to that, even if you have some kind of, a backlash because people misunderstood your intention and they don't know the whole story behind whatever you wanted to do. And sometimes that's pretty unfair because, I don't know, maybe you are trying to talk about some really delicate subject and people think that you're talking like only covering what is in the surface, and they don't know the whole story about how maybe a person that you know closely like help you to understand completely what was that subject about. Like, I don't know, if we talk about abuse, rape, war crimes, stuff like that, and they say, yeah, but you're selling this game about war crimes, so but you don't know what it's about, and you don't know me. You don't know exactly what I lived or the people around me lived. You don't know where this is coming from, and probably you're not interested in knowing that because you gave like you had the quickest answer and the quickest reaction to what you just saw, which is probably a 1-minute video. So it's really hard to react professionally to these things, and we have to do it, and we have to keep silent because it's really damaging our product if we start answering everything that we see in social media. It's really hard from the developer's perspective, but still, again, what you said, if you stick to your good intentions, you know that at some point the truth will surface. Someone with enough followers or enough interest will do the research and will tell the world, hey, you were totally wrong. This guy, it's super legit, and the game is saying something, and you didn't listen.
Just to add on that, very, very briefly, do not feed the trolls, they say, right? People are going to troll, people are going to speak their minds. However you portray anything, with you could spend months planning on something that touched your family heavily, and that is a very important topic for you, and then suddenly someone says that you are disrespectful to that topic, that is very horrible that you actually spoke about it in that way. So it's really, really hard to act the right way every time. You just need to act in a good way. Try to be respectful, try to be yourself, and do not feed the trolls. They will come from under the rocks.
It's the final trial because you just send the last build to the publisher after 2 months crunching, and then you read that comment in social media. It's like, okay, you made my day. I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to sleep, and tomorrow I'm going to totally regret, but I had to say this to you guys.
I totally understand you. I'm the social media girl, so it's sometimes difficult to deal with the trolls. You have to relay calm and just let the time pass. Wow. So, in order to avoid this kind of situations, do you usually test the game with players before the release, or that's not something you do?
Well, we try to reach as many different profiles of players as possible. Friends, family, friends of friends, other teams working in our company if we are lucky enough to have more. These events, I mean, it's good to see your game being enjoyed from many different perspectives, because maybe you realize that is more appealing to a certain public, so you had to like boost certain features in the game because that thing that you thought was not going to be a good thing or something that people will enjoy is actually the most enjoyable thing of the game. So okay, we totally missed that. We need to focus on that specific thing. So that only happens when you expose your game to like a wide variety of players.
Yeah, we actually, before we came here to Gamescom this year, I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago, we have a mixed methodology of interviews and focus groups that test our game. I think it was like around 50. And we learned so much about the things we were doing right and the things we were doing wrong, or we have to change or adapt. That it's crazy. You will kill yourself if you don't do that before going to the public with a demo or going to even a publisher, because for us that was a really learning experience, and it just took us like 2 days to organize, and it's so worth it. And it gives you like a different perspective of your own game, because it's your game, but other people have to enjoy it, so you need to learn from them.
And I would say once you are working on a game, on a project, on whatever for X amount of time, you start creating that beautiful bubble of your own perspective that blinds you from what is actually going on. And your child is the most beautiful child in the world, right? It's like, oh, no. Nobody understands it.
Be honest, please give me honest feedback, right?
So the best thing you can do is, at some point, take your game to control audiences or the public and gather that feedback, because it will crush you and help you in many ways. Last year we were showcasing the game in many different events worldwide, and we learned so much about what people loved, what people didn't care about, and many of those things were actually similar to what we thought, but many others were like, oh, okay, that is completely new to us, so we will invest more time in making that extra interesting or extra polished, because a lot of people care about it. And you try to extrapolate as much as you can, especially if it's like a specific country or a specific show that a specific type of people go to, and you try to extrapolate to a more general audience. It's always hard, but it will give you a lot of very, very interesting input. And when you are working with topics like folklore and a certain story, history in a legend of Valencia, or certain religious aspects, you want people to understand what you are trying to do. You want people to live with a positive mindset. So get as much as you can from there.
Okay. From all of these opinions you have received from the beginning to the present day, which one was the hardest one to swallow?
Ooh.
If I can ask that.
Wow. Maybe you start with another one.
Okay. I have a problem with myself that is no one is going to be as hard as myself. So that when we start from that, everything is good, But I don't know. To be honest, it's myself. I'm every time I'm actually have to bring the game to other people to say, dude, this is okay. This is really good. So stop overthinking. I have ADHD, so overthinking is my thing. So yeah. I didn't encounter anyone in the gaming industry that have a harshest opinion than my own opinion. So yeah. I do my own whiplash, so.
Sometimes really hard opinions may come from the audience or the publishers, but believe it or not, one of the toughest ones was in a trade show for general audience, so kids of all ages, YouTubers, streamers. I don't know. It was a lot of things going on, games, and so many kids sat down and said, "Can I play FIFA?" And I was like, no, this is for a different game. And they just stood up and left. So that was one of the hardest things.
That's heartbreaking.
It's
right?
yeah, you're like,
You're not FIFA.
If
So-
not, consider including FIFA in your game.
yeah, we thought about changing everything and just making a football game after that. Yes, yeah, Churcha.
I guess in our case with Blasphemous, for example, we knew we wanted to make a really hardcore, like a really hard game. You know, it's super challenging for Souls players, blah blah blah. And sometimes you don't know if the game is hard or just unfair. And
Are you talking about the spikes?
I might be talking partially about the spikes, but that's a good point. I mean, it's a good example of one of the situations that we had to face. Like, okay, people is complaining a lot about the spikes. I was, I crumble sometimes. Like, okay, I don't know if I did something really bad for the game. I don't know if I destroyed the game because of how many situations with spikes there are, and we have insta kill. So should we soften the punishment? Should we change this feature? That we have been sticking to this feature since the very beginning of the game, but we are receiving really bad feedback. Should we change it completely? Because when you find people that really hate something, and the other end of that spectrum, you have people that really love and is passionate about whatever you think it's awful in your game. So you cannot please everyone, even if it's a really bad thing, because as soon as you change something about your vision, that will make you look like you are not sticking to your original vision. You are not what happened? you are not sticking to the original plan, and people will notice that okay, so you were not certain, you were not sure about your vision in the game. You're changing something now based on our feedback. So why are you trying to sell this game like it's good when you are changing something based on the feedback that we're giving to you? I don't know, sometimes you tend to think this, which is super toxic. I mean, it's not helpful. You receive the feedback, you process it, you think on the best solution, and sometimes the best solution is just leaving that because it's your vision. It's what you intended originally, and because it goes with other features that people are not noticing, like insta-kill goes pretty well with the kind of game we are creating. If we change some specific aspects of the game, insta-kill will not work. So this is why we can change it. This is what happened with Blasphemous 2. We changed other aspects of the game, so insta-kill didn't make any sense. But getting to that conclusion requires reading a lot of hate comments and a lot of opinions like you guys don't know shit about design because you stick to that decisions. Like this is why we know about design, because we stick to the decision.
I will say very quickly that sometimes the loudest voice is not the most knowledgeable voice.
Totally.
Like they could, they have their own opinion, but everyone has one. It doesn't mean that it's good, right? So if you have a loud voice, they will hear you, but maybe you are conveying the wrong message. So, as you said, think about what they are saying, analyze, and then it doesn't matter how loud they speak. Take an analytical approach and act accordingly.
So, short answer. It was not the spikes. It was the jump.
Really?
Yes, that was the real problem, the jump. I will explain that in my blog. No, but really, the problem was the jump. And a collision box that changed it slightly during the jump. It's a long story for a short problem.
Whoa. So this brings us to the last question of the blog. And I want to link it to the beginning of the conversation when we talk about the increasing popularity of folklore games or the folklore topic, like with the popularity of Chinese culture or Japanese culture and everything. But this time, like focused in the Christian religion, I don't know how to say it. I feel like the youngest generations are experiencing religion in a very different way from our parents and our grandparents. I'm sorry. So I feel like we are more. I can think of the word like we are way more in the atheism than in the religions of our parents. So this progressive secularization, how do you think it will affect to folklore games, to the genre, to the future of this kind of games?
It's a difficult question, but actually I have a short answer to this. Like, I think that religious places and religious things and all this, it's becoming an aesthetic, right? For movies, for video games, for comic books. It's weird to think about religion in this way. Like, yeah, now you're a trend. You're not a religion anymore. No, of course, it will keep being a religion for a long time. But for younger generations, it's attractive only for the aesthetics, I will say.
And I think one thing we always have to keep in mind is that younger generations will perceive the world in a different way, but not only religion, everything is different for them. I didn't grow up with internet, cell phones, or many, like even laptops were like a crazy thing that some very rich people had, right? So whatever very young generations will experience, they will definitely have their own perspective, but we were in a moment where we were consuming movies and games and magazines, books from older people that had their own perspective, and we consumed that, and it was fine, and we just saw their view of society in those pieces of art, I would say pieces of their vision, right? So I think it will happen the same way. We will grow, and we have some like white or blue hairs, and we will just create things with our own perspective, trying to keep younger generations in mind. But they will grow, and they will create things in their own perspective with the younger generations in mind, and so on. We cannot be in their shoes. We cannot just change things for them. But I agree that a lot of things turn into fashion statements, into trends, and just a tweet. It's conveyed in a millisecond, and it doesn't matter anymore, right? But maybe that's what my grandparents thought. My grandparents thought of us. So I think we will just try to keep doing our thing the best way possible, and try to think about just what they may consider, and with his point of view of saying, like, I did it with a good point of view, with heart, right?
Yeah, what I think about this is, like, I don't think it will affect in any way, because even if people stop believing in God or being religious, or pop culture will keep showing, as Enrique said, that aesthetic that people like churches, or especially in horror games, like churches and that kind of symbols. So it will be weird that from overnight to disappear. I don't see a negative impact on people start like going to churches, because they're gonna still be there, you know. It's a great example in the Netherlands that in Amsterdam, you go to the churches and it's not a church anymore, or maybe it's a restaurant, or it's a, they're using that to different things, so they will still be there. The aesthetic will be there.
In Spain, it's the opposite. You go to a restaurant and it's a church. Sometimes.
So yeah, that kind of things I think is important to have that in mind, because it would be really weird if people stop liking that kind of aesthetic, like Enrique said.
Okay, I thought you were about to talk. No, what you say reminds me of in my last trip to Italy. I noticed that inside McDonald's in a train station there were Roman ruins. So it was very fun to see.
Catacombs, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun. So this brings us to the end of the conversation. I hope you had fun. Same for the people at home and here in our Games from Spain booth. So thank you very much for staying here with us, and let's wait for the next activity. It's going to be super interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.